Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, the Tanya Takeover, where I'm your girl Tanya, and today we're going to be talking about how I left nursing to make millions. If you haven't done so already, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. On my channel, we talk about beauty, fashion, and finance, the trifecta. You can't have one without the other, and let's get started. Okay guys, so let's chat. This is going to be a very laid back kind of discussion because I'm seeing a trend in the nursing profession, and part of me is happy that I left when I did, and a part of me is wondering, where we went wrong and everything. A lot of nurses are feeling underappreciated. They're tired of being mandated. I'm seeing a large population of nurses either going towards travel nursing or leaving the profession altogether. Now, when I left the nursing profession, it was way before all of this happened. I was just regular nurse. I was working in the emergency room. Just to give you guys a little background story. I was working in the emergency room and I worked there for 7 years, and I left because I kind of got burnt out, honestly. I was getting lots of patients back to back. And I don't know if anybody else is in the emergency room. You guys know that in the emergency room, you get slammed back to back to back. There is no saying, okay, well, I met my 5 patient quota. I met my 7 patient for the night quota. No, I was getting slammed. I had 16 to 18 patients. I had 12 patients on a good night, and I just got burnt out. And then especially seeing that, there was so many new graduates coming every night, every day, I just started feeling like a dime a dozen, basically. So I decided to start saving my money and started formulating a plan. My plan was eventually to start my own business. My original plan was to start a nursing home. I wanted to like a nursing home or something in the medical field, and then my business partner, my friend, and I decided we're going to do daycare centers instead. So when I first started my nursing career, I was excited. I wanted to be super nurse. I wanted to do ICU and ER, I wanted to have like the big S on my chest. Well, it would have been an N. I would have had a big N on my chest. I'm going to be a nurse of the year. But once I started seeing that, the hospitals were very low staffed and there was like a lot of things going on that I didn't appreciate, I decided, it was time for me to make other moves. And seeing a lot of nurses and they're still feeling this way, I'm like, wait, they're still doing this after all these years? So I'm here to tell you guys, if you're a nurse or you're thinking about it or a new grad, I would never discourage anybody away from nursing. Number one, we need nurses. Are actually I feel like they're like the foundation or one of the many pillars that hold the healthcare system together. So I would never discourage anybody from nursing or anything like that. I would just say that if you are feeling like this and you are starting to feel burnt out or anything else, there is life outside of nursing, okay? I started to formulate my plan to leave the nursing profession about a year before I started. And just a quick background, I was already saving, and I talk a lot about savings in my videos. I was saving my paychecks and I was paying myself first. Of course, I'll link all those videos above or below because you guys can see my real career story. I would anybody who's thinking about leaving nursing, I would definitely tell them to start saving your coins. Definitely start putting your money aside and having a plan. Don't just leave nursing to figure it out as you go. That's not something that I would ever suggest anybody do. When I left nursing, I was making over $100,000 a year. And as a single woman by myself, making $100,000, I was pretty proud of myself. I was making like a lot of money. And I know what somebody's gonna say, nurses don't make $100,000. Well, in my hospital, I was working nights, so I got night differential, and I had a side hustle. Most nurses, like myself, they know how to hustle. We know how to hustle. We know how to work a day job. We know how to work a night job. We know how to switch our shifts so that we have a 6-day break so we can work 2 shifts in the middle. Guys, I've been there. I've done it all, okay? I've done correction nursing. I've done GI nursing, nursing home nursing. I give a big shout out to anybody who's doing nursing home nursing. You guys are like superstars because they, no lie, get 40 patients a night. So definitely shout out for you guys. But I've done it all. So I would definitely suggest that if you are looking to leave the nursing profession, make sure you have a plan. Make sure you know what you're doing, how you're doing it, and all that it entails. So on my journey, I made sure that I had my savings, and I decided I was gonna put my savings into purchasing a business. My business that I chose was daycare centers, and I'm gonna show you guys my business probably in the next episode. I'm gonna record like the school so you guys can see. I put my money into buying daycare centers. When I picked my profession, I wanted something that was sustainable. I wanted something that people would need. People need daycare. People always have, children. They need childcare. Who's gonna take care of the kids? And I thought this was a great profession. I could actually bring into it my nursing skills, because what parent wouldn't want a nurse as your daycare center owner? I would love that. So, in case of any emergency, I got you. I definitely think that daycare would be an excellent idea for a nurse, an ex-nurse who was looking to, jump into a new field. When I left, I did not know anything about childcare. I did not know, ratios. I didn't know how many kids per one teacher. I just knew that I wasn't going back to nursing. I was tired of that dreaded feeling of driving into work, having to work nights, sleeping days away, sleeping my life away, and I couldn't honestly think of bringing a child into the world, having to work nights. Like, it was just a lot for me. I couldn't even imagine. And I know there's nurses doing it all the time. Shout out to you guys. But I personally couldn't see myself, because I like to sleep. And especially working nights, I would never wake up. I would just sleep all throughout the day. And then when I have time to spend with a child or a boo or anything like that, or have a personal life. So it got difficult for me. So when I left nursing, I have to admit, I didn't know anything about childcare. I didn't know anything. So it was a lot of learning as I go, learning the ropes as I went. It was a whole different ball game than being a nurse. With nursing, I had a set schedule. I had a paycheck every 2 weeks, more importantly. I had benefits. I had, a lot of things that we take for granted being an employee of somebody else. Going into business with myself was a very big jump. I didn't have a paycheck every 2 weeks. I got paid after everybody else got paid, and that included lights and rent and, the teachers and staff. So I wasn't really prepared for that. Also, and I wasn't prepared to, change my shift. I was used to nights. I would come in at night, have my little coffee, have my break by 11, relax at 3. My patients were sleeping. Like, I was used to that kind of schedule. So going into a schedule where I was up in the mornings, watching the teachers, watching the parents, making sure everybody was good, watching the kids, like, it was a big jump for me. It was very different for me, but it was something that I wouldn't trade now for anything in the world. After the first year, I was able to say that I made my first $1 million, and I did that because we grew pretty fast. Of course, I can't say I had $1 million in the bank. No, I didn't have $1 million in the bank, but the business brought in $1 million, and I was really excited about that. I was like, wow, I could have never did this in nursing ever. So it was like I made 9 times what I would have made in a hospital working for myself. And that was really amazing. That was really shocking and scary, but I was able to do it, and I was really happy. So the daycare center I purchased a business that was already running. I chose to do this because I didn't have to worry about licensing. I didn't have to worry about, were the doors fireproof? Were the carbon monoxide sensors, were they 6 feet apart? I mean, there's a lot when it goes into daycare, and with any business I would suggest you do your research. So I didn't want to go through all of those mandates, so I bought a daycare center that was already running. I felt like this was the best thing to do because it was just easier to just go in and, hire new staff if I needed, make some changes, just bring the business up. The business I chose to purchase was in an inner city. I chose to do this because I wanted to give back. Of course, as a nurse, we tend to want to take care of people. We tend to want to fix things. So we bought myself, my friend, I say me and my friend, we bought a daycare center that was number 1 in the inner city and number 2 needed help. When we got there wasn't a lot of kids there. It was poorly managed. The look of the building was run down. So it was like a lot of changes that rules we had to implement, and just things we had to change. Like, for instance, I could remember a parent bringing a child in with a Pepsi in one hand and a bag of Skittles in the other. Yes, and they were strolling in at 9:30. So those are some things that, had to change, of course. We started giving the children breakfast, providing breakfast, lunch, and snack for the children, making sure they were eating nutritious meals and things like that. Once we made all of our changes, we realized that, word gets around fast. Parents started talking to other parents, started talking to their families, and before we knew it, we were filled up. By the second year, I had 2 daycare centers filled to capacity, and parents were raving. Everybody was happy. Everything was great. We were able to implement things like school trips, and of course we were making a great profit. The teachers were happy, the parents were happy, and the kids were happy. They didn't even want to leave. That is always the great part of going into daycare. Anything that you can give back, I would definitely suggest doing. Now, with any business, you're going to have ups and downs. They say in the first 5 years is when you'll see if your business is going to make it or not. Within the first 3 years, after the second year, we actually opened a 3rd school. So here we are, excited, 3 schools in, over 150 children. Everybody's happy and thriving, and it was great. But I started to feel that same feeling of feeling burnt out. You cannot have 3 schools and 150 children and not feel some sort of stress. I had to make sure the kids were eating okay. I had to make sure the state was happy. I had to make sure all the paperwork and documentation, immunizations, bills, overhead, things like that were paid. So after the 3 years with 3 schools, we started to realize that we were getting burnt out. I was once again in this area in my life where I felt burnt out. I felt like, I was going into a job. I no longer felt freedom. I didn't feel like I was free. I felt like I was still, burdened. Well, not burdened. I still felt like I was heavy and, I still felt stressed. Just a different kind of stress. Of course, I was stressing my own business instead of stressing in somebody else's business. But it was still stress nonetheless. So we decided that we would consolidate one of the schools and only have 2 daycare centers. When we did that, it helped a lot. And then it got to the point where, we decided we were going to hire a manager or a director to oversee everything. We could no longer do it ourselves. It was becoming bigger than we were. And, I was feeling very blessed and happy, but very overwhelmed also. But that just goes to show you in your business, you grow. Sometimes you're going to grow up. Sometimes you're going to grow, down. Sometimes you're going to realize that all growth is not good growth. We were, bringing kids. We had a great reputation. Kids were coming from near and far to come to our daycare center. But from all the mandates and stuff in the state, it just got to be very overwhelming. So we decided to close one, consolidate it, and now we had 2 daycare centers back down to 2. 2 daycare centers were great. It was, we were happy. The kids were happy. It was wonderful. But it still got to the point where I felt like I was going into a job. I didn't want to go to a job. I went into business for myself to have a business for myself. So we stopped everything. We hired 2 directors, one for each location, and then kind of took a step back. A lot of people look at it and they're like, okay, you know what? You're always home, you're playing on YouTube, you're on Instagram, you're cooking, you're, maintaining the home. This is just to show any and everybody that, you can build the life that you want. You can design the life you want. You can take over your life any way you want to. A lot of people don't see the background story. They think, oh, okay, you made $1 million in a year, you made this much, you're making millions, which is great. And yeah, it was wonderful, but I didn't feel free. Now I'm able to go in my business when I'm ready to, when I want to, and just know that everything is taken care of. I would suggest for anybody leaving nursing just to have a plan. I'll say some people are determined to be nurses for the rest of their lives, which is great. My mother actually is a nurse, and she's been a nurse for years. But that wasn't something that I wanted. I wanted to kind of branch out. I wanted to try other things. I knew I wasn't going to be a millionaire being a nurse. I mean, let's face it, by the time we're finished working, we're tired. We don't have time to think about anything else but our next shift or when we have to go back, right? So ultimately, leaving nursing was a conscious decision of mine. Don't get me wrong, I learned a lot doing nursing. I learned a lot. I learned how to deal with people. I learned how to multitask. I learned how to work under pressure. I learned that, I'm stronger than I thought I was. But ultimately, there's life outside of nursing. You're welcome to, do anything and be anything that you want to be. Nursing is one of those professions that I am proud to say I'm a nurse. I am a registered nurse, and I have been a registered nurse. I always keep up my license. Let's face it, getting that license is not easy, okay? I went through schooling, I had to go through testing, my NCLEX and everything like that. And I, worked as a nurse for 7 years. I am keeping that nursing license. And that's the great thing about nursing also. If you guys are interested in leaving nursing, just know that you can always come back. You go and you get your feet wet, you keep up with your license, you can work anywhere, you can do anything with your nursing license. You don't even always have to do bedside nursing. There are so many things you could do with nursing, so I would never discourage somebody not to do it, but I would say use it as a stepping stone. Ultimately, I would always push starting your own business. Worked out for me, and of course my journey is going to be different than somebody else's journey. I jumped out and I didn't even know what I was doing, but now of course my older self would tell my younger self, do your research, make sure what you're doing is right, make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's and make sure you're good. Because I just thought, I have the money, I had saved. I was living at my parents' house at the time, so I was just saving nonstop. And when I left, I'm like, wow, I'm rich. Let me go buy a business. So that's not always the way to think. And I know a lot of young nurses are like, sometimes you're feeling a little discouraged. Maybe you feel like, oh, I'm going to leave nursing. I hate it. I'm never going to figure it out. It's overwhelming. Too many patients. They talk about nurse bullying. I didn't experience that. But I've heard a lot of nurses complain about it. And just know, use nursing as a stepping stool. If it's not something that you see yourself doing long term, it's an excellent way to save up money to get to where you want to be. And I would definitely push anybody into doing it and, ultimately realizing that you aren't going to own the hospital. So maybe it is great to, use it to start your own business and maybe even work still as a nurse part-time. It all depends on you. But everybody's journey is different. So I did quit nursing to make millions, but I learned a lot from nursing also. I got to meet a lot of great people. I had a lot of great patients, and it's an experience that I wouldn't have changed for anything in the world. I feel like being a nurse made me resilient. It made me work hard, and it made me the person I am today. So definitely, if you are a nurse or you think about leaving nursing, just know that, you got this. You already have the background behind you to be strong, determined, and do anything you set your mind to. So I'm hoping this video reaches somebody, and I hope you guys are inspired to go into business for yourself. Check it out, test the waters. It's great on the other side. I remember going in during hurricanes. Was it Hurricane Sandy? Hurricane Sandy, being on the highway and, having the trees fall down on the highway next to me, the lights out, and I had to go into work. I had to go. I had to go. I was mandated. I have to be there. So snowstorms and holidays, so many holidays that I missed, going into being a nurse, especially in a hospital, it's not easy. It isn't. A lot of people are feeling it now. So I would definitely say to use it as a stepping stone. Have your plan set, definitely. Do your research. Save your coins, okay? And you can do anything that you set your mind to. So, okay guys, well, that's the gist of my journey on how I left nursing to make millions. Don't forget to comment down below. Let me know, are you a nurse interested in leaving? Are you considering it? Are you even considering going into the nursing field? And just let me know all your questions down below. I'll try to answer as many as I can. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe at the bottom, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.